Welcome to the third and final installment, but not really the end. My deep dive into the films of Doris Wishman. This is technically a season finale. We'll call it that. The end of the Twilight years here from AGFA. This is the box set that was released first and foremost. Then we're going to segue into the Moonlight years for part 4. But we still have 3 movies to talk about. And the next 3 movies we're going to discuss are really going to decide whether you want to buy this or not. They include my favorite in the box set and my least favorite.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hello, motherfucker.
Directed by the lovely Doris Wishman, we will be talking about The Immoral Three, Keyholes Are For Peeping, and Love Toy. I'm going to save the best for last, so let's start at the worst. Love Toy. Love Toy runs 1 hour and 15 minutes. This is a supremely weird and disturbing movie, and one that looks like it was specifically made for people with bizarre fetishes. Remember Indecent Proposal? Well, Doris got there first. When an old man loses his entire wealth in a poker game, the winner agrees to return all of his money in exchange for one night with his hot young daughter. What he decides to do with that night and with that daughter is where things get a little freaky deaky. Okay, are you ready for this? First, he makes the girl get on all fours and lick up milk from a bowl like a cat. Then he wants her to pretend to be his mother so he can suckle on her breast. And in another insane instance, he wants her to pretend to be his daughter so that he can spank her because she's been naughty. And then he makes her ride him like a horsey while she slaps his naked ass with a belt. All of that 100% happens in this movie. In my opinion, Doris goes one step too far when the guy brings in the girl's father and forces them to get sexy with each other. Luckily, that brings us to the end of the movie, which is surprisingly bleak. Not that the movie was a happy, fun time journey anyway. Let it be clear, if I haven't been already, that none of this is sexy or erotic or titillating. It's disturbing, ridiculous, and tedious. This looks and feels like a movie that was shot over a weekend because we never leave the apartment where it all takes place, and most of it takes place in the girl's bedroom. It just makes the movie duller and less interesting looking, but of course the plot does that to the movie just fine. Terrible, awful, I hated it. There's no reason for this movie to exist. Zero plot. I mean, it's nearly a porno. All it's missing is insert footage, and I think you know what I mean by that. 1 star for Love Toy. Yuck. Awful. I never want to see this movie or even hear about it again. It was so bad. So bad. I mean, it wasn't even a sexy movie like, oh man, that girl's good looking. I mean, she's a cute girl, but all the weird stuff that she's doing is, I mean, it's honestly just a kind of a freaky deaky movie. People who are into that might enjoy it, or maybe not, because it's pretty boring. I mean, it's pretty close to Bat Pussy, if you've seen that movie, which is another atrociously bad adult film. Ugh. Awful, boring garbage. Moving on. I'm going to continue to leave the best for last. Let's talk about Keyholes Are For Peeping. I don't know why I said it that way. Let's just keep going. Keyholes Are For Peeping runs 1 hour and 9 minutes. Sammy Petrillo is probably one of the most annoying comedians ever, and yes, I'm counting Robin Williams in that statement. Here he plays a self-made sex therapist named Stanley. Oh, and he also plays his mom in drag, and it's as hideous as you might imagine it to be. Here is a film that's not really about keyhole peeping, however there is plenty of it because the superintendent of the building is a super perv, and every time he peeps into a keyhole, of course, there are crazy sexy times happening inside said apartments. And by the crazy sexy times, I mean pretty lame stuff, and for some reason, most of the keyhole peep stuff is shot in black and white. So that kind of makes it less exciting and more artsy, which isn't fun at all. My guess is Doris had some leftover black and white sexy groping footage and she threw it in to try to make a movie. And I mean, it strains at the seams of credulity. It feels like 2 movies in one. We get the superintendent peeping and then the annoying dude trying to be a sex therapist. And none of it works. All of it feels very random, like they shot it over a weekend with no connective tissue and probably no script. Did I mention that it also feels very, very improvised? This one's honestly kind of a chore to sit through, and I wouldn't even subject my greatest enemy to it. But then again, maybe I would. Keyholes Are For Peeping is so boring, so dull, so stupid on a monumental level that it's an insult to even bad movies. I think it's Doris's one and only comedy. Don't quote me on that. Again, it's been a while since I've seen most of these, and I haven't seen all of these. So she may have something worse than that. But from what I hear, this is the worst of the worst. Sammy Petrillo is absolutely mind-numbingly awful. And every time he was on screen, I wanted to punch him or throw fire at him. I was not a fan. Not a fan of him or this movie, which is held together by nothing. Unfortunately, it just wasn't a very good movie. One that doesn't hold up, and worst of all, is unentertaining or even titillating. Yeah, there's nudity, but it's all so bland that it doesn't necessarily rise to the occasion, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. 1 star. Keyholes Are For Peeping. Terrible. Yuck. Awful. Awful. I mean, those 2 movies alone are enough for me to tell you don't get this box set. Because those movies are so bad that you should not subject yourself to that experience of sitting through those movies. Oh, and Let Me Die a Woman, which is another rough one. But let's end on a happy note, because I love a good happy ending. I think you know what I mean by that. Let's talk about the one, the only, The Immoral 3. The Immoral 3 runs 1 hour and 14 minutes of tit-filled glory. This one is a pseudo-sequel to the Chesty movies and would have starred Chesty herself, but Doris apparently disliked her so much that she recast her and killed her character. The real stars of the show are the 3 young ladies who, unbeknownst to them, are the daughters of Chesty's Agent 73, who has just been murdered. At the reading of the will, they are told that if they can solve their mother's murder, they will inherit $3 million. I don't know how she has so much money, but she does. So now the new lovely and incredibly buxom sisters team up to solve her murder. But first, we'll get to see them naked, and quite a bit. Have I mentioned this is my favorite movie in the box set? Because Jesus Christ, it is. This one is the closest thing to a porno that we've seen from Doris so far, and it's only in the way the movie is constructed. For example, in the middle of the search for the killer, one of the daughters gets stuck in an elevator with a random guy. What would you do in that situation? Probably call for help? Well, she proceeds to take out her tits for no reason except for the pleasure of our eyeballs, and then she starts humping the guy. It has nothing to do with the story, but in porn movie rules, it makes perfect sense. In almost every scene, there's a naked lady or a girl in super skimpy see-through outfits, or a girl's boob just pops out randomly. To add icing to this lovely cake, every girl in this is a knockout. This movie felt like it was directed by a guy. Story-wise, the film offers thin excuses for nudity, but I don't care, and it actually has a plot. As a matter of fact, the film even offers a satisfying and shocking conclusion. It's not the greatest thing ever made, but if you like nudity and don't mind a little cheesecake, then you're going to enjoy the hell out of The Immoral 3. Best of all, it's so far the one Doris film that doesn't feel completely embarrassing and awkward and made on the spot. And it's one I would certainly watch again, but I would probably wait for Mistress Chaos to go to bed. I kid, of course. She'd probably watch it with me. We have fondness for Doris. I don't know that she'd enjoy it as much as I would, but, you know, I think Mistress Chaos would enjoy it. And I think you would, too. It's my favorite. Are you ready for a shock? 5 stars. 5 stars for The Immoral 3. And not just because it's got a bevy of beautiful naked ladies and you see them literally almost every second. There's a boob out. It's beautiful. It's one of the greatest films ever made. But because it has a real plot, it actually has stakes. It has a through line. It has a conclusion that makes sense. It feels like it's put together like a movie. Hey, what a shock. I didn't think Doris had it in her, but this really worked. Now, beyond, of course, those little weird porny moments like the elevator scene, and there's a scene where one of the sisters, this beautiful brunette, gorgeous body, goes out, starts to suck off a banana, and then the gardener comes over and she gives him a BJ, which, you know, we don't see, but it's hinted at because you see the guy's face going, oh, and then it's sort of like superimposed with the girl sucking off the banana. I mean, it's stupid, it's artsy, but we get what's happening. And beyond those weird little porno moments, you actually have a pretty decent movie here, and I would even say the best of the Chesty movies, even though it's technically not a Chesty movie. I really liked it. I really liked it quite a bit, as you can tell. 5 stars. It's the best movie on the box set. Absolutely, but is it enough for you to pick up the whole thing? It pains me to say it, but I'm gonna suggest you don't pick it up. I don't think these movies are good enough to own, certainly not to rewatch, unless you collect these kind of outre, weirdo, something weird type of movies, you know, Herschel Gordon Lewis, David Friedman type stuff, then maybe, yeah, maybe you want this in your archive, your library. But somebody coming in blind, hey, should I pick up these Doris movies? No. Yeah, you're not gonna, you know, I really don't think you're gonna like them. And that's hard for me to say because I respect Doris as a filmmaker. I've worked with her and all that stuff. But no. Overall, I would give the box set a 2-star rating. And that's pretty low. But I just think there's maybe 2 good movies in here. I think Deadly Weapons is really good. Yes, nudity does play a factor, but when you're talking about Doris Wishman, you really don't have much else to hang your head on. I guess you could hang your head on Dorton Chesty's boobage there. But yeah, Deadly Weapons, Immoral 3, the best movies on here. The rest of them, junk. Ass, trash, garbage, as my buddy Bullet Blake likes to say. 2 stars overall for the box set. If you can get your hands... I didn't mean that, you know, no pun intended there, on The Immoral 3, I think you're really going to dig that. It's a really fun movie. It plays up the cheesecake angle. You're going to have fun with it, you know, and it has a pretty decent story with some real shocking twists towards the end. But overall, I don't think the box is worth an investment. Now, we do have the Moonlight Years to talk about. There's 9 movies on that box set. More, I think... traditional movies, you know, still weird fetishy movies, but not just titty flicks with weird, exploitation elements. Titties, yes, but not as crazy. So maybe that will bode better in terms of our appreciation, at least in my case. Moonlight Years coming up with episode 4. I haven't even cracked into that box set yet, but stay tuned. My deep dive of the Doris films continues, and I hope you'll join me. If you haven't subscribed, do that now so you and I can hang out. You won't miss the rest of the Doris chat. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you again. This has been your friendly neighborhood Master Chaos, signing off for now.